this version 1.1. It pleases me tremendously that you're all here tonight. My name is Wil Wheaton, and I have been tasked with introducing tonight's show. However, before the introductions begin, I have also been tasked with making two brief announcements. Announcement the first: this show is, as most early version softwares are, in beta. If there are mistakes, that is why. Please file your bugs accordingly in the Bugzilla. Secondly, tonight's program is released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike license. If you don't know what that means, ask the nearest nerd. He is likely sitting next to you. Or she. It's that kind of crowd. If you choose to record tonight's programming, please do not engage in the use of flash photography while the performers are on stage, as it tends to give us seizures and make us fall down. And with that bit of nasty business out of the way, the introduction. Some months ago, Paul of Paul and Storm called me and said, "Hey, Wil Wheaton, would you like to do a show together?" "As a matter of fact, I would, Paul of Paul and Storm," I replied. While the rest of the conversation did not exactly happen in this way, it does make for an amusing and expository introduction, which allows me to say the name of everyone in the show and a little bit about what they do. So let's all imagine that this is actually the way it occurred. There was a brief moment of silence as we considered the implications of putting together a show of this magnitude. Superman stopped by, walked into my kitchen, and brought me a piece of cake. "Thank you, Superman," I said. "Now would you please leave? Batman is here and it's about to get weird." "Hey, Paul of Paul and Storm." "Yes, Wil Wheaton," he said. "Who else will be in the show with us?" "Well, Wil Wheaton," he said, "how about Adam Savage of the Mythbusters?" "The Adam Savage of the Mythbusters?" "The very same," he replied. "Well, guess what? What? He is in the show with us. We'll be in the show with him together." Well, I was very excited by this, as you can tell by the way my voice raised. And I said, "Now, Paul of Paul and Storm, while having Paul and Storm, Wil Wheaton, and Adam Savage of the Mythbusters all on stage together would create a triumvirate of ultimate awesomeness. There's a lot of space in between. It must be filled by special guests." "That is an excellent idea, Wil Wheaton," Paul of Paul and Storm said. "People should give you money for it." "If all goes according to plan," I said, "they will." During this conversation, I had a much longer mustache that was at a twirling length. It has since been groomed. "Who could we have as our special guests?" I said. "Well, how about Molly Lewis?" "Molly Lewis?" "Molly Lewis, who plays the ukulele? I've seen her on the YouTubes." "Wil Wheaton," Paul of Paul and Storm said, "you're beginning to speak in a voice similar to that of a 1930s newsreel." "Yes, I know. It's all the rage out on the continent." "How about Jeff Lewis, no relation to Molly Lewis?" "Jeff Lewis? Do you mean the well-known comedian and Vork from the Guild?" "The very same," he replied. "Paul of Paul and Storm," I said. "I'm kind of on the Guild," I said. He said, "Yes, I know you are. You play kind of a dick." "Who else could we add to the show? How about Josh Kagan?" he said. I stopped for a moment and I said, "I'm sorry, who?" "Josh Kagan," he said. "He's on Twitter." "I'm on Twitter. Let's add him to the show." And finally, he said, "One more group of special guests to round out the evening's entertainment. How about Chris Hardwick and Mike Furman?" "What?" I said. "Surely you're joking. Hard and firm?" And he said, "I'm excited about the show, Wil Wheaton, but I'd appreciate it if you showed me some professional respect and didn't talk to me that way." Wait for it. It'll come around and land in your head, and you'll realize that was a very funny thing I did. Having nailed down the performers to place on the stage, we found ourselves at a bit of a loss. How would we define the evening's entertainment? Being nerds, we drew a Venn diagram. In this Venn diagram, we placed science fiction, science fact, history, technology, math, lolcats, and of course, music. Woodstock is at the center of that Venn diagram, and so are we. In fact, it thrills me as a lifelong geek to be involved in a show that there are enough of us to enjoy. Because we weren't always as accepted by those normal people as we are now. I recently watched a documentary called Revenge of the Nerds from 1984. In one of the interviews in that documentary, a man named Gilbert says, referring to the vandalism of their nerd lair, kind of a prototype of the man cave, but infinitely more cool with actual working robots. Tonight those bastards trashed our house. And why? Because we're smart? Because we look different? Well, we're not. I'm a nerd, and, I'm pretty proud of it. His friend Louis Skolnick then takes the stage next to him and addresses the camera. Hi, Gilbert. I'm a nerd, too. I just found that out tonight. We have news for the beautiful people. There's a lot more of us than there are of you. And Louis Skolnick in the documentary Revenge of the Nerds was right. This is for us. This is our time. This is Goonie time. And Goonies never say die. Crap. There's a live one in the front row, guys. Load up the acid guns. Having recently become familiar with falling into a pit of acid, I can tell you it's not something you wish to draw, sir. And with that, I present to you Woodstock, version 1.1. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce Messrs. Paul and Storr.
That's Wil Wheaton, ladies and gentlemen. In case you're not sure where you know him from, he was on an episode of Leverage a few weeks back. 8 Leverage fans, awesome.